Hello, everyone. You are listening to Scenecraft. From opening shots to long takes and epilogues, we examine our favorite scenes from cinema here on the podcast. I'm Cody, here with my co-hosts,
Mark
and Connor.
A quick note that you can find Scenecraft on Instagram and Twitter at Scenecraft Podcast for the latest news on the show. Today we'll be discussing a scene from the 2022 film Everything Everywhere All at Once, directed by the duo known as Daniels. We're also so excited to feature a brand new segment of the show called Pro Takes, where we are joined by a special guest to give us their take on the scene, having been creatively involved with the scene itself. This week, we're honored to welcome Everything Everywhere All at Once cinematographer Larkin Seiple, who will join us toward the end of the episode. Before we get started, it is Oscar month. Are you guys ready for awards this year?
Oh yeah, big time.
I think so. Got a few more movies to watch, but
yeah, same.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so for our episode release on March 15th, we're going to do a small Oscar segment to talk about this year's winners. And hopefully we can run down the Best Picture nominees in lieu of our Quick Takes section. So be sure to tune in for that. And speaking of Quick Takes, let's get into it.
Speak quickly.
Quickly, thank you.
Quickly, come on. Hurry up, quicker.
Way quicker.
Okay, I'll say it fast.
So Mark, what have you been watching?
I saw the movie Missing, which is directed by Will Merrick and Nick Johnson, and it was released this year, 2023. The log line is, after her mother goes missing, a young woman tries to find her from home using tools available to her online. All right, so I know you guys are familiar with this style film, but for those of you who aren't, here's what you need to know. The entire story takes place through a computer screen or cell phone. And the directors of this film actually were editors on a film that was in a shared universe called Searching. Mm-hmm. Which also takes place on a computer screen. I don't know if you guys saw that in 2018.
Oh yeah.
But it was really good. And so this is kind of a continuation. It's more of like a spiritual follow-up to it, I guess. But basically, I'd say that for those of you who haven't seen this type of movie before, it seems like it may be a gimmick that would kind of grow tiresome after 15 to 20 minutes. But it actually truly breeds a new way of storytelling. I feel like one of the thrills of seeing a movie like this is just to see how the directors are able to creatively outthink the limitations of this format. I would say there's a fun mystery here. There's lots of twists, and I would recommend Missing.
That's great.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to check that one out.
Definitely.
Another movie I saw was All Quiet on the Western Front, which was directed by Edward Berger, and it was released in 2022. The plot summary reads, set during World War I, it follows the life of an idealistic young German soldier named Paul Balmer. All right, so let me first start off by saying that I have an unofficial war movie quota that I have where I basically will see like one war movie every 2 years or so. And honestly, I really have to kind of psych myself up into seeing something. And unless it's had some positive buzz or it has some sort of new innovation surrounding it, it's kind of hard for me to see. I think 1917 had that unique single take style, and then Dunkirk kind of defied a lot of many war hero protagonist stories. And with that said, All Quiet on the Western Front is a film that's just simply well made. It delivers all the beats that you would expect from a World War I story, but it doesn't shy away from any of the brutality of war or some of the horrifying imagery that you might see with it. I honestly couldn't help but wonder what kind of impact this would have had on me when I was learning about World War I in grade school. It probably would have scarred me. But I would say that if you enjoy war films, or if you need to be reminded of, the horrifying realities that are experienced with it, give All Quiet on the Western Front a chance. It's nominated for Best Picture, and that's for a reason. So I would recommend it.
Nice.
Great. Yep.
Have
to watch that in the next week.
Yeah, Connor, I think you saw it, right?
Yeah, I saw it. Really liked it. Super well made. That ominous musical cue is so memorable.
Yes.
So Cody, you'll have to keep an ear out for that when you watch.
Oh, I will. Definitely.
Connor, what have you seen recently?
So I watched two very weird horror movies this past week, both from the early 1970s. The first one is The Wicker Man, directed by Robin Hardy. It came out in 1973. The logline is a Puritan police sergeant arrives in a Scottish island village in search of a missing girl who the pagan locals claim never existed. So, good logline. This is one of the pioneers of the folk horror subgenre, and I'll go one step further and say this movie could be a completely unique genre in and of itself. I didn't know what to expect going in, but you guys know I'm a big sucker for movie posters, right? And this one is so iconic and classic that I just had to know more and give it a watch. I knew it was going to be weird, but I was not expecting how bizarrely musical this movie is. It could pass for a musical, honestly. So, Cody, you might be interested in it.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ton of nudity in this, too. So it makes for kind of an odd pairing. But if you could get around all that, there's a really fascinating and truly haunting story here that took me by surprise. If you're a fan of cerebral horror that's more Twilight Zone than Friday the 13th, then I would recommend checking out The Wicker Man.
Connor, you know what the next logical step from this is, right?
What?
You're going to have to see Midsummer.
Oh, yeah, don't get me started. That's maybe one step too far for me.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that I watched is Robert Altman's Images from 1972, and it's about a schizophrenic housewife who kills off each of her terrorizing apparitions, unsure if these demons are merely figments of her imagination or part of reality. So this one takes a little work. I would almost classify this as experimental art house horror. It really messes with you as a viewer and puts you in the perspective of our main character who's suffering from psychosis. Throughout the film, there are many static shots of images or objects that are paired with these odd sounds to create a really uniquely unsettling sensory experience. It's super meticulously well crafted and feels timeless, yet still distinctly early 70s at the same time. I really love this time period for horror because filmmakers had to get pretty inventive given the constraints of the time period. And I would recommend checking out Images only if you're in the right headspace to be challenged a bit and creeped out at the same time.
Did you see this on Criterion?
So I rented this twice. It took me like 2 different rentals through Alamo On Demand. I just couldn't get through it the first time, and the rental period lapsed, so I had to actually buy it again to finish it. Yeah, so it was a journey.
Was it worth
to
it?
get there? Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was good. I mean, very unique for sure. So I'm glad I finished it. All right, Cody. What about you? What have you been watching lately?
Yeah, this week I finally had a chance to check out The Woman King, directed by Gina Prince Bythewood. This was recommended by friend of the show, Stephanie. Thank you very much for your recommendation. This was shot last year, 2022. It is set in the early 1800s and was inspired by the true events surrounding the Agoji, the all-female warrior regiment of the West African kingdom of Dahomey. So, above all else, the performances in The Woman King are worth the watch. Viola Davis, as we all know, is a national treasure.
Mm-hmm.
And Lashana Lynch absolutely knocks it out of the park in her role. She's very tough, but also hilarious. She's just such a pleasure to watch in this movie.
Cool.
She does such a great job. I will say that the movie feels a bit too over-polished for me and kind of anachronistic. And I don't always mean to come off as the guy who's chanting for a violent R rating on every film.
Oh, come on.
But it almost felt a bit like a superhero film to me, like a modern day superhero film, where we aren't seeing the full impact and trauma of these historical events, which maybe we don't have to. And it's actually a good approach. But I just wanted the movie to take that extra step to be more impactful. Still, I would recommend checking out The Woman King. It's a fascinating and very important story, and I'm definitely glad I watched it.
Cool. If that's the way you feel about it, you're going to have a good time watching All Quiet on the Western Front.
I was going to say that. Just wait.
I also watched All That Breathes, which is a 2022 documentary film by Shaunok Sen. Logline is amidst the darkening backdrop of New Delhi's apocalyptic air and escalating violence, two brothers devote their lives to protect one casualty of the turbulent times, the majestic black kite, a bird of prey essential to the city's ecosystem. So All That Breathes is one of this year's Oscar-nominated documentaries, and it has some really strong competition this year, but I wouldn't be disappointed if this won, honestly, because it's a beautifully grim look at a very specific part of our deteriorating world and the struggle that comes with trying to care about something and heal something. It has one of the most compelling opening shots in a doc I've ever seen. It had me hooked right from the get-go. It has this very special meditative way of showing us the thin line between urban life and wildlife in India. I've never been to India, but this was fascinating to watch. The overall look of the film is beautiful. So despite an ending that does feel a little bit demoralizing, which honestly sometimes we just need, I would definitely recommend All That Breathes, streaming on HBO.
As a bird guy, do you think I'll like it?
Mark, I was going to say you would really enjoy it because that is a main focus of the film, but you do see a lot of other wildlife, and I think this would definitely be your speed.
Okay.
Maybe for both of you, actually.
Yeah.
Curious to see what you think. All right, so let's get into our discussion about Dan Kwan and Daniel Scheinert's Everything Everywhere All at Once, starring Michelle Yeoh, Stephanie Hsu, and Ki Hoi Kwan, among many others. And as with all of our scene selections, beware of spoilers ahead.
You and your pig can't be here.
Is it that I can't be here? Or that I'm not allowed to be here?
Okay. Hands
See,
right.
I can physically be here. But what you meant to say is you're not allowing me to be here.
All right, so the log line from IMDb. A middle-aged Chinese immigrant is swept up into an insane adventure in which she alone can save existence by exploring other universes and connecting with the lives she could have led. This is going to be such a fun movie to cover, and once we've broken down our scene selection and given all of the proper context and setup, cinematographer Larkin Seiple is going to join us for his pro take. So, general thoughts on the film. And I know I've been talking forever at this point, but I'm going to ask you guys if I could maybe go first so that maybe you guys can temper my opinion on the film. Is that okay?
Yeah, I would
go
love
for
if
it.
you
I
went
can't wait to
first.
hear.
Great. Spoiler alert, I love this movie.
Oh, really?
I
had
think
no
we all
idea.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Everything Everywhere All at Once is handily my favorite of this past year of 2022. And I think what I'm about to say from this point forward may be hyperbole, but to me, the movie is a masterpiece. And I love when I can confidently express that for a new movie, because it's rare, I think.
Yeah.
It accomplishes everything I could hope for, really, in a film experience. It's strange and really distinct, and it's really out there, just really weird, which I love. And it's both heartbreaking and hilarious, and it skillfully handles these wild swings in tone. And from a technical perspective, I think it's beyond expert level and required the perfect hybrid between something wholly original and these moments that pay homage to the best of cinema. It's a kaleidoscope capturing the spirit of the martial arts genre, as well as sci-fi, romance, comedy. This was clearly made by people who love not only movies, but life.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with this movie at all, and I weirdly still feel a certain sense of pride from having seen it and lived during the time it was made. Like, that's how strongly I feel about it.
Wow.
What the movie says about life really resonates with me. It values moments of kindness and absurdity amongst a world that sometimes doesn't really make sense. Like I said, I love this movie, and if it doesn't win a handful of Oscars, I will eat crow on our next episode.
Ooh.
Wow, bold statement. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
There you
really
have
glad
it.
you liked it.
Me too.
So this really did feel like a bold and important film, and it just makes you wonder, how could something like this be made? It's so detail oriented, it's so incredibly dense, it constantly flips between different genres, and there's some pretty complex sci-fi premises thrown at you, but you never really feel lost.
Yeah.
And this is all while providing a unique perspective on the immigrant experience and the importance of family that feels very personal.
Mm-hmm.
I found this movie to be really ambitious and a must see.
It's great.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, what can I say that you both haven't covered already so well? I mean, this was so fun to see in a packed theater last spring. I can't remember having so much fun at a movie and really loudly cracking up with the people beside me. There's clearly so much love, like you said, Cody, poured into every frame of this movie. And although we've seen many iterations of the multiverse idea, this was the first time for me that it resonated on an emotional level.
Mm-hmm.
I think it taps into such a basic human worry that deep down we question our life decisions. Am I living the best version of my life? What if there was some other path I took? I can't think of another movie from the past few years that elicited such a huge response from close friends of mine and affected them on such a deep level, which I think I, kind of just heard from both of you. I think it came at exactly the right time on the heels of the pandemic, and I'm really looking forward to what Daniels does next. I'll also go out on a limb and make a prediction here that it wins Best Picture at the Oscars and might clean up with Best Director and Best Original Screenplay as well. So many phenomenal performances here, too. I really hope my guy Ki Hoi Kwan wins Best Supporting Actor. There was a moment in the film where I just broke out into the biggest grin because his character did some kind of smile, and I realized it was Short Round, and I had such a great moment realizing that during the middle of the movie.
Incredible.
That's great. Yeah, I didn't even realize until you guys texted me after the movie that was him.
Yeah, he did such a great job, man.
Well, thanks, guys. Well said. I'm glad you guys love it too. So let's dive into our scene selection, which we're going to call Jobu Tupaki. To set up the scene, let's briefly talk about the premise as a whole, because the entire concept of the movie is pretty wild. And at this point in the movie, which is a little under halfway through, Michelle Yeoh's character Evelyn has been warned about an evil being known as Jobu Tupaki, who aims to upend the multiverse, meaning our universe, as well as the infinite variations of our universe. So Evelyn learns that by tapping into the infinite versions of herself, including a kung fu master, a chef, a sign twirler, etc., so many different careers and skills that she's able to learn, she's the only one who can stop Jobu. Well, it turns out that Jobu Tupaki is embodied by Evelyn's own daughter, Joy, and ironically is a representation of joylessness. And basically, by using her own nihilism and chaos, she can alter the world around her. So this is where Jobu first appears to Evelyn in the movie, in what is a mind-bending scene filled with visual trickery and these incredible performances. And so if you tuned out for any or all of that, this is where the villain first appears and does some crazy shit.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the setup. So let's get into the scene. We begin in a long, dim hallway with Evelyn, a passed out Waymond, IRS agent Deirdre, and 4 police officers who already have Evelyn and Waymond in handcuffs after assaulting Deirdre. The officers hear the cargo elevator at the end of the hallway start to move. As the doors open, we see red atmospheric fog and a shadowy figure walks out to reveal herself. And it's Evelyn's daughter, Joy, played by Stephanie Hsu. But really, it's the antagonist of the film, Jobu Tupaki.
So we do get this like horror movie lighting with this red glow and a silhouette, and it's like the complete opposite of what we end up seeing. We see this character dressed in an Elvis outfit, smoking a cigarette, holding a pig on a leash, which is probably the polar opposite of what anybody could have predicted coming out of that dark hallway.
Yeah, and sort of just speaks to the nature of the film, which is this character embracing chaos and encouraging Evelyn to see the chaos and that the world, as she says, the universe is so much bigger than she could possibly imagine. So just the whole nature of the film revolving around these random moments and outrageous costumes, and it's so perfect for that.
Yeah, the wardrobe here, like having her come out in this outfit, it's so bright, so loud, and so over the top compared to like the dim normie clothing of our
Mm-hmm.
main characters, Evelyn and Waymond, and the IRS agents. So it's just such a great visual contrast to the completely drab and like boring office setting that we're in. It's a great introduction to this scene.
And then if you peek a little bit further, you'll notice that she has these gems under her eyes,
Mm-hmm.
representing tears. And so even though she has this outward bright appearance, there's some sadness there as well.
Yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
I wanted to mention too, as we're seeing that, like Joy, right? Our character Joy is a condensed version phonetically of Jobu Tupaki. Like if you were to just combine that together, take the first letters and the last letter. So we're seeing the expanded version of her literally with more characters in her name, but also kind of literally as she embodies more characters in this scene. We haven't seen anyone verse jump like this yet. And it just shows her total kind of playful mastery of it.
Yeah. There's also a needle drop here that's worth mentioning. While she's coming out of the elevator, there is the song Rainy Day by Susan Christie playing in the background. It's a pretty somber song, which once again is kind of at odds with her larger than life appearance when she comes out of the fog.
Yeah, and Mark, that if you noticed, I think we were talking about this earlier. As she walks out of the fog and out of the elevator, it almost sounds if the song is playing from the elevator speakers.
Yeah, right.
Making it a diegetic in-world sound, hearkening back to her ability and power to control the world around her, almost as if she has her own soundtrack as she's walking out of the elevator. Like, I like to think that she controlled that.
Yeah, great sound design here. They scooped out the highs and lows and kind of just left the middle frequencies to kind of give it that elevator sound to it where you don't have much dynamic range. And so I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, it's a great intro. And, we're kind of seeing in this scene where she walks out and she starts to interact with the cop. She's got so much swagger, right? Like such a contrast to the way that we were seeing Joy's body language before. So we're kind of seeing everything that Joy wants to say to her mom in the current universe just come to life in like spectacular fashion here, as if she's, introduced officially as Jobu Tupaki.
Another thing I wanted to point out, which is just a very quick throwaway shot that you could easily miss, and I only noticed this upon watching it over and over, was Jobu's mini pig running to Deirdre.
Yeah.
And how she's kind of, despite all this trauma that's just happened to her, something being stapled to her forehead, she's just kind of squatting over and welcoming this mini pig into her open arms. I just love that.
There's like this innate draw to get cute animals to come over to you so you can pet them.
Yeah, sort of like blended with confusion on her face. It's so good, and I'm glad they kept that moment. And I wonder if that was just something that happened on the day.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Okay, so this is where she basically says to the cop, "Are you telling me I can't be here physically? Because physically I can. I think what you're saying is you're not going to allow me to be here." And she puts out the cigarette on his badge. And then Evelyn is still concerned about paying the officers respect.
Yeah, she still talks to her as if she's Joy, right? And she even gets worried for her later when she thinks that she gets shot. But it's interesting to see that tone shift as the recognition sets in that this actually isn't my daughter and it's somebody else.
Yeah. And huge respect to Stephanie Hsu.
Yes.
For pulling off the wildly swinging pendulum of this performance, because you have to be tormented and understated. And then on the other side, like eating, chewing scenery around you as this almost like comically villainous character.
She plays it perfectly.
Okay. So when Jobu's being arrested again, the cops Michelle Yeoh's character, no one yet knows the extent of her power. So they're thinking like, this is a small, petite woman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to arrest her. They're starting to handcuff her. And she says in a really high-pitched baby voice, "You're going to make me walk through you?"
And I'll admit, I had to use subtitles.
Me too.
I had no idea what she said during this point.
Yeah, same here.
But it
Had
makes
no
so much
clue,
more
but
sense now.
It
Yeah.
does. And it's still hilarious, even if you can't understand it. To which the cop responds, "I can't let you do that either."
And this is when she really unleashes her anger and she says, "Again with the can't." And she throws down the handcuffs at this point.
Yeah. And that's the first time I think you get a glimpse, all of them get a glimpse at her power to where she could just evaporate a pair of handcuffs.
Mm-hmm. So after she breaks out of the handcuffs, she puts her hand over the cop's face, and we see the lights in the hallway start to go crazy. And that's the cue to us that there's something that's disrupting this environment that there's in. And there's something that she's doing that's really affecting the world around her. We see the cop sort of burp up this confetti in a really unexpected way. And then his head actually explodes and turns into confetti, which is such a just weird but cool effect that they were able to pull off.
Such a cool in-camera effect because I think they use the flickering lights as a way to smash cut the officer's head into the confetti.
Cool.
And then right as she explodes the head into confetti, that's when you get this music cue that pops in, which begins this kind of almost Western themed triumphant trumpet music.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what kicks off a series of music cues, one after another, depending on the genre we shift to, which we'll break down genre by genre. But just brilliant work on the part of mixture of Needle Drops and Sun Lux, the composing group that did the film.
Did you guys notice, or did you guys get the feeling that the lights flickering and the changes in the music cues also kind of reminded you of dialing a radio where you're kind of going between stations and you get a little static in between?
That's a great point.
That's kind of what it evoked for me when I saw it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a good pickup.
Yeah, just her ability to tune into various parts of the multiverse as if you're switching a radio channel.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, we see Jobu from front and she's looking forward. And then another officer is behind her, calls her attention. And instead of her turning around to face him, she just parts her hair and her face is already facing him. And once again, another great practical effect. You don't need, hundreds of different CGI artists to render this. It's just a simple effect that is so effective. I really, really loved that in this.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason we really wanted to dig into this scene is because if that confetti sequence wasn't weird enough, each interaction with the cops starts to outdo itself. They one up each other as they go through this scene, and it's almost like what's coming next and what's the end of this thing.
Yes. So Mark, bouncing off of your point, the way that this cop gets her attention is by putting a gun to the back of her head, which is how we do the reveal that she's parting the back of her hair, but when the hair parts, we're seeing her face. So it's just this great little visual trick. He actually starts pulling the trigger on his gun as she puts the gun in her mouth. And you hear this incredibly timed and mixed sound effect cue that almost sounds like a water pipe or a hookah, like she's sucking in smoke. And then she blows out smoke as if she just absorbed the bullets into nothing.
Yeah.
So after that, we see her kind of twirl outwards from the cop and then twirl back into him. And there's this really great moment and lighting cue where the scene just totally changes and shifts. The cop is now dressed as almost like a Chiquita Banana type woman. And she is his partner, and they've totally had a wardrobe change, and they're almost like flamenco dancers.
Yeah. I just a quick shout out to Shirley Kurata, who did these chaotic, fun costume designs. And I guess with this particular outfit, this sort of Latino style samba or flamenco outfit, it's like this fruit hat, like Connor said, a Chiquita Banana. It's like a fruit headwear that he's wearing, which I guess was popularized by Carmen Miranda,
Huh.
who
Oh.
was a samba dancer who
Nice.
wore this and made it popular. But it's just this classic great look where what was previously like a very serious looking cop with a mustache is now in this incredible, very, very brightly colored outfit, as well as Joy or Jobu is in sort of a matching blue outfit with these long sleeves.
Yeah, and it's really quick what happens from here, but it's so dramatically lit. Everybody's kind of wondering what's happening, but they can't even react to it because she's twirling the cop around, and then one cop just starts shooting.
Yeah. And this is all in slow-mo to kind of emphasize the dramatic effect of this guy getting shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're seeing these squibs kind of explode out from this yellow fabric, just watching like basically a banana just burst full of bullet holes. It's so
weird.
good.
Okay, so after the one cop is killed, Jobu starts charging after one of the remaining officers and yells, "Daddy." And at this point, we transition to another outfit change where she becomes a luchador and she jumps into his lap and then performs a pile driver, snapping his neck.
Oh, that's brutal.
Which is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And again, just like the edit, just the camera movement, the edit, the music, the lighting design, everything is so perfectly in sync here. They just had to have such a precise hand and vision into what needed to happen. Like if any sequence was storyboarded with a high level of detail, this would be the one where they needed to know exactly what they needed to shoot, who needed to be what, where, in order to work in tandem with the edit. Because when she hops into this cop's arms, the shot cuts to him actually on the ceiling reverse. So his head is facing downward. And it's like she even has the power to change someone's relative position in the world.
Yeah.
And she's then able to grapple him and just use her weight to sink him down from the ceiling and crush his skull.
Well, that's such a good point, because it's like the question we're asking is almost like, what can't she do? Right.
Yeah.
And like this camera push after that happens, we're seeing Evelyn kind of knelt down in the hallway. And there's like this push in on her, like this dawning realization of like, oh shit. I think she even says that of like, what's this character going to do next?
Once again, I got to make a quick comment that the sound design is perfect. In case you don't have an entire understanding of what's going on, they throw in a really quick wrestling bell ring right before the pile driver lands. And just another little cue that accompanies everything that's going on on screen. So really great.
And I think Sun Lux again shifted the music cue to be more of like a luchador style cue from the previous cue. So everything working in tandem so well.
It's at this point that Jobu and Evelyn lock eyes. They're kind of on the same level, both kneeling on the ground, looking at each other. And it's quickly broken up by Jobu being shot from behind. And once again, a squib firing and splattering blood all over Evelyn's face. And there's this dramatic moment where she's watching her daughter basically die right in front of her. And then, of course, Jobu's like, it's organic. And she pulls out a ketchup bottle. And I think this really shows that this is all entirely playful for her. She's not in any sense of danger. She's just kind of showing off all of her power to her mother and nothing else at this point. These people don't mean anything to her. The scenarios don't mean anything to her. The realities don't. It's just an abuse of power.
Yeah, it's just her playground in her long journey to finding her powerful counterpart. She seemingly has explored almost every version of the universe at this point and can wield and manipulate her power to such a degree. This is all just fun and games for her. And we're seeing that, which I think is why we partially chose the scene, because it shows what these characters are capable of in a nutshell by channeling other versions of themselves throughout the multiverse.
This outfit is so great too.
It is,
with the blue furry boa, the lightning bolt earrings, the blue
yeah.
makeup and blue lipstick,
Knee pads,
the silver
Yeah,
gloves.
it's
Yeah,
really
it's
fun.
just it's so perfect.
And the way she performs the line, it's organic. Like in this kind of valley girl voice. It's just it's just such a brilliant performance, and I would love to see alternate takes of that and
Yeah.
what she decided to do. Yeah, it's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then right after Jobu delivers that line, it cuts to Evelyn, and she kind of looks around in disbelief, right? And actually like licks her finger after wiping her face to check that it's ketchup.
That's so sick.
Such a good detail. And then there's no way around this one. We then cut to the white shirted IRS officer attempt to hit her with a baton, her meaning Jobu. And as soon as it makes contact with Jobu's hand to block it, the baton turns into what's probably like a 2-foot long dildo. But like a very hyper realistic dildo.
Yeah, and if we were talking about, in Megan, them leveraging the paper cutter as a new way of using a weapon, this is just that times 100, right? Which I don't think this has ever been
Takes it to a new level.
done before, and it looks painful. Like this guy's getting like brutalized with these things.
That's what's so great about this, is because once again, absolutely silly,
Yeah,
but played so brutal. You
Right.
get this high pitched piercing noise when she makes contact with his ears, kind of
Yeah.
mimicking, some sort of ear damage from the blow. And then once again, she's just having fun with this. She's just kind of beating him up while Evelyn looks on horrified.
Yes, and again, everything just works in perfect harmony because the cue that's introduced here is this classic, beautiful piano piece.
Right.
As Evelyn is staring glassy-eyed at Jobu beating this officer with a giant dildo, and realizing, oh my God, this is Jobu, the great evil that I've been told about, who is my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they, like I was saying in our general takes section, the way that they have a mastery over these tonal disparities, but kind of harmonizing them into one. I haven't seen something done this well since like a Coen Brothers movie where you're getting hyper violent, dark moments, but it's just so funny and you cannot help but laugh.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably my favorite shot of the whole scene.
Which is what?
Hero shot.
Like these flopping dicks.
This is okay. So I think this is one of the best shots of this scene. We get what I would refer to as almost like a hero shot. It's a slow panning into Jobu holding these objects, almost like they're nunchucks, and they're flailing about. It's almost kind of in slow-mo, and she looks so serious, and then at the end of it she kind of smiles to her mother. It's such a great moment, and she winks. That's what it was. It was a wink.
And right as she's doing this super high frame rate slow-mo hero pose, as you put it, Mark, it cuts to Evelyn, who cuts in with this line like, "You're Jobu Tupaki," like she pronounces the name wrong because of her mispronunciation of various names, and it's just such a great comedic moment that undercuts the tone of the moment. It's just so well done. And then, like you said, you cut back to Jobu. She winks to respond to that comment, and then the dildo kind of like wiggles and bows forward towards her, and then back again in slow mo. It's like an unforgettable visual.
Yeah. And this is where it, it's crazy everything that we've just seen unfold on screen. But in this face-off, Evelyn says, "You're the reason my daughter does all of this stuff," right? She kind of names this laundry list of things that she sees as wrong with her daughter. She doesn't accept any responsibility for it. And I think it's a nice comparison point for us here for the growth that she and Joy experience later in the film. This is kind of the dawning of that realization.
Mm-hmm.
One quick note, there is another wardrobe change at this point.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
after all the cops and guards have been defeated, Jobu starts walking closer to Evelyn, and she's dressed in a golf outfit.
Yeah. And she's still
I,
got the
I
fur coat on, so she kind of takes that off.
yes, yes. I wanted to get your guys' takes. Why do you think they decided to end with this particular costume?
That's a good question. I don't know. It's so clean and proper compared to this sort of wild, eclectic mix of things that we have seen before, but it's handled in a really stylish way at the same time. It's super unique and it's got some edge to it for this really like buttoned up sport.
So I think I was reading a little bit about this actually. You see earlier in the film, before it's revealed that Jobu is Joy, when she's wearing this sort of tartan green outfit with a huge visor and a mask to shroud her identity.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently these outfits were chosen because it's something that an elderly person would wear.
Oh.
And maybe that reflects Jobu sort of being an old soul at this point who has experienced infinite universes.
That's interesting.
And aesthetically, I think it just looks odd on this young woman.
Yeah.
That's a good take. I guess my interpretation of it was she's kind of menacingly holding this golf club, which could be used as a weapon, right? And so she has an outfit that accompanies this. The final effect is that you don't know what to think, right? She's in this golf outfit with the appropriate accessory, but does she have the accessory because she intends to use it to hit her mother, or does she use it just to complete the outfit? And I think that ambiguity is something that they really play on here, and that was my guess as to why they ended with this outfit. So at this point, Evelyn also has a line where she says, "And you're the reason why she thinks she's gay."
Yeah.
And at this point, the music stops.
Yeah, I think the music dropping out almost acts as like a record skip, right? For that question dropping. And we hear this great line from Joy, which is something like, wait, in this universe, you still care that I like girls?
Yeah, it's the fact that she now has experienced the multiverse. Evelyn has experienced the multiverse and has gained powers through another persona of hers, and she is still hung up on the fact that Joy is gay, which Jobu is outraged by, understandably. I mean, that Evelyn is so stuck in her ways, and Connor, to your point, this serving as a counterpoint to later in the film. And this is kind of where the scene concludes and launches into the next sequence.
The infamous hot dog fingers sequence, which is worthy of another episode in and of itself, for sure.
Seriously. Yep.
I think after rewatching this scene, I really realized that this movie truly rewards people for rewatching it. There's so many things to uncover every single time you see it, whether it's a musical cue, a visual nod, a new, character design that you may have not noticed the first time.
No, totally. It was so great watching this with you guys again. And I think each one of us kind of picking up on things that I missed for sure the first time around. So great to get 3 different perspectives on it.
Yeah. And again, I think this scene is just a great example of the controlled chaos of the film and how much Daniels are able to achieve. It's just in tandem with sound effects, music, the performances. It's just such a brilliant scene, and I think is just a great small sample of the movie as a whole.
Yeah.
All right. So do you guys have any final thoughts on the scene or the film?
For me, this was a highlight of the year for sure. And I hope when March 12th rolls around that we'll see some wins for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
All I can say about this movie is that I think it's really important to applaud original IP movies in a landscape where we're seeing sequels on sequels, oversaturation of superhero movies. It's great to just see something wholly original that's injected with so much passion and spirit. And every single sequence in this is meticulously crafted, thought out.
Yeah.
And I think this scene here is emblematic of that.
Yeah, well, thanks, guys. And now that we've broken down the scene in detail, we'd like to welcome on our guest, Larkin Seiple, the cinematographer on the film, for his pro take.
Amateur or professional?
professional.
Hey, Larkin, thank you so much for being here with us on Scenecraft today.
Yeah, thanks. My pleasure.
Though we just broke down the Jobu Tupaki entrance scene, we want to start out by asking on the macro level, with this wild script, how did you approach a shoot like this amongst all these varying genres, styles, aspect ratios, lenses?
I mean, brick by brick. There's a lot. There's obviously a lot in this soup, if you will. There's a lot of ingredients. Or my approach is always to just focus on the things that scare you, the scenes that you don't know what you're going to do or what it's supposed to look like, and kind of start digging away at those. But in general, a lot of it too was based on the locations we found.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it we would kind of find the muse with the location, and that would determine the aesthetic. Like, trying to find the bagel verse where Jobu has like her minions and where the bagel lives was a long process of just going to many different locations from, community centers to churches, trying to find something that was like elegant but sparse, that had scale, but was also functional, like we could actually pull it off. Yeah, just kind of doing that, and also not feeling, I think that the big thing is also not feeling like you have to make the right decision right away.
Mm-hmm.
I find a lot of our choices, after like a bad scout or like, oh, I guess this place will work, like a week or two later, be like, you know what? I have a different idea for this approach. I've been kind of stewing on it. That was just a big part of it. And then a lot of the references came from Daniels or from Kisvarde, or a lot of it was just memories or feelings of movies and how that kind of affected the scene. It was less about what we wanted it to look like and more about how we wanted it to feel, and kind of like taking that approach, the visuals kind of started to present themselves.
Absolutely. And just narrowing in more on this scene and capturing that feel, as you said. You've mentioned in other conversations that Daniels had fight scenes described in a single line in the script. Was that the case for this Jobu Tupaki entry scene? And what was your process like for fleshing that out with Dan and Daniel?
This one was more specific because there's a lot more tension involved. It was very clean and blunt in terms of my memory of the script, but there wasn't a lot of gaps to fill necessarily. Like when she comes out and talks to the officer and discusses the fact that she can be there, is she allowed to be there? I think I actually fought to keep that in the script. I really liked that sequence, and I was they were debating about if there was too much or we had to speed things up, and I was like, no, that's the best. That's her intro. That's her badass moment.
That's amazing you say that, because that's actually our intro clip for the scene, which we really love as well. So we're glad that you all kept that in.
Yeah, that one, the whole sequence was pretty specific because the gags are so specific. There's no real improvisation there. The big difference is that initially Jamie's character, her villain character, if you will, when Jobu shows up, she was a much bigger part of that whole sequence. And for time purposes, they had to remove her from that scene, which is crazy because she's in the whole hallway scene. They had to go in and cut her out for the whole scene. Like that, it was a lot of work.
Wow, because I remembered a certain point the cop says like clear the room or something, and you see them kind of shuffle off.
Yeah,
that's amazing that they had to paint that all out. Wow.
One of the other moments that we like too is when the pig greets Jamie in the hallway.
I don't think that was planned from my memory, because we had a pig wrangler and they're like, yeah, now you let go of the pig. And I think that, I don't know if Jamie was in character or if that was just Jamie who was just very excited to meet this pig. Yes.
Incredible.
That was,
wow.
Yes.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about the in-camera effects of this scene versus digital enhancements or any full CGI shots?
We tried to do as much in camera. This is the classic Daniels gag. The first gag is, I guess, the confetti bit where we touch his face, and then I think we froze, and then we had him start to shake, which was then sped up, and then we had confetti in his mouth, and then we would just once we got it, we're like, all right, everyone freeze. And then I forget the name of the guy who played the officer. We're like, all right, clear. And then someone would come in with confetti and just like throw it in the air. And then we'd resume the scene. Very simple. And then I forget, we probably did a variation on that where we had no one there and we threw confetti. And then for extra like precaution, we maybe like ran in there with like a green screen and threw confetti against the green screen in the same lighting. But I'm pretty sure what they ultimately did was just have the guy run out and drop confetti. That was the first bit of it, and then the second one, I believe, was the samba scene with Dan Brown, who plays the policeman and officer. We built in these very dramatic, frontal lights to strike it, and then all the gun hits were done. Surprisingly bloody gun hits as well. It's not that gory of a movie, but there was I think they really liked the Chiquita Banana look to have something very visceral. So that was all done practically. Yeah.
Yeah, just the imagery of that banana yellow kind of wiggling around as the squibs hit is absolutely incredible. And that's what we keep saying is you guys have really mastered this tonal disparity between something that's like a little disturbing and hilarious and you're just laughing out loud. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. No, we that was just a match cut in the end, and again that was all done in camera if my memory is correct. We just had them freeze, lock the camera off. Actors came back in their samba outfits. It was also probably, to me, it felt like a nod to The Mask. I don't know if that was actually their choice or if that was what Shirley was doing, but I liked it for that purpose.
Incredible. And you mentioned at that samba scene, the lighting cue in particular. So we've noticed throughout the entire scene, there are so many complex lighting cues happening. So them punctuating certain vignettes or moments all throughout. So we wanted to ask about that and like the strobing lights going down the hallway horizontally, like as Jobu is walking down to kind of show her power and manipulating the universe around her.
An echo.
Was that all practically?
That was all practically done, and this was probably the most elaborate. I mean, it's a simple rig. It's all just Astera Titan tubes, which I think are very common in the industry. What made it elaborate was we had to run the whole length of the hallway and we had to cable them so that they could be perfectly synchronized. Normally they're used as a wireless light, but you don't get it doesn't communicate as perfectly. So we had to, unfortunately, just go into the ceilings, with our gaffer Matt and our best boy Mike. We had to just basically spend like a week just running cables all the way down and back and figuring out how to make it work. I mean, in the end, we're just putting these lights into fluorescent fixtures. But we did that, and then we spent a while trying to figure out the different gags of what that meant, which was like the shudder or the echo effect of her. There's also the scene gets darker when she transitions out of the wrestler sequence. And then there's the rainbow. I forget, we named it after the track from Super Mario Kart.
Oh, amazing.
Rainbow Road. And that originally was in there for the sequence in which Jobu addresses Michelle's fear of homosexuality. Was like it would be this big rainbow cue. The scene actually, it's funny you bring it up. The scene was probably about 5 pages longer. There's a whole lot they cut out that happens because it's the introduction and there's a lot of questions and we're figuring out Jobu. And then, like everything in this movie, there was a lot of it and it got reduced, which I think is the far better version because it leaves more mystery for Jobu. Yeah, I think at one point they go through like a whole list of the universes in which Michelle has had made out or had sex with like a million different types of like aliens or people. I forget, like just to prove the point that sexuality is absurd. There is a bunch, but in terms of the practical effect of it, the next sequence is after Samba, we go to the wrestling scene where she grabs the officer who flips upside down, which we built on a wire rig and did that practically in camera. And we spent a couple of days figuring out how to safely snap someone's neck. Like the guy's upside down, and then you cut to him below as he's like, ah! And then she lands and it smashes his head. And we were like, how do we do we do it slowly on a mat? Like, how do we do this safely? And so we just tested it with a dummy. We put the mask on the dummy. And then Tim, our stunt coordinator, showed us the video, and we were like, the dummy actually sells. We don't actually have to do this with a person.
Yeah.
The neck just just like the rest of the sequence is kind of Looney Tunes, and then it just is like whack.
Yeah, it looked
Yeah,
great.
so that's how we ended up doing that. Was you cut to like a close up of the real guard kind of freaking out, and then in the wide, it's I don't even actually think that was Stephanie. I think that was Stephanie's stunt double who did the body slam move. But yeah, that's all. Yeah, we ended up just doing it practically with a very sad looking dummy, and then there's some visual effects to clean it up as well.
Oh, it's so good. And yeah, we love the moment where she screams daddy as if she's running for the embrace and then basically tackles him. And then that just the quick cut to him flipped onto the ceiling to do the reverse, pile driver, skull crusher. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's just so well done.
So much of that too is stuff I don't think daddy was written in the script. I could be wrong. Or the way she delivered half those lines. I was like, oh, that's not how I remotely imagined it. It was fun.
The "it's organic" line is great.
Yes, the jokes keep coming. Yes, this is us going full Looney Tunes. That was the concept behind the sequence, if I'm correct. Yeah, it took us a long time to shoot actually, just because it was a tight corridor and it's wire gags and bullet hits and lighting cues and 7 different costumes and pigs and a whole other characters that had speaking parts that we later cut out. Yeah, there was a lot to it.
And just broadening out a little bit, did you have any favorite techniques or visual language you like to use to make each universe feel distinct?
In terms of the camera work and things like that and how it's told, those are all kind of emotional reactions and trying to create or supplement Michelle's point of view generally. So it didn't dramatically change it a lot. The only time we really changed the camera work was for the Wong Kar-wai verse, because it's like a dream, and so we used the in-camera step printing technique of shooting like at 4 frames a second and then playing it back at that speed so you get the motion blur. But also the framing is the only time it's really dramatically different is in the Wong Kar-wai verse, because Michelle's character is at its most disconnected and selfish, if you will. She's living in the place that she wants to be and ignoring the rest. And so the framing is very off and dramatic and meant to kind of make you feel like this is something's wrong or something is changing, which is why as the scene progresses, it becomes more centered and more focused. All of the universes we met with hair and makeup and production design, and we all pulled up references slowly. There was no like hard answers, but we agreed like, oh, let's push these colors for this universe. Or a big thing was also removing a color was a bigger choice, because we knew like say like the laundromat for the Chinese New Year, it has lots of red, and we're like, we'll have red there, but let's try not to put a lot of red in any other scene. So you don't see it. You see it maybe a little bit in the Operaverse, and there's a pinch of it in Rekakuni, but you don't. There's none of it in their Wong Kar-wai verse, and in some of the other universes as well. We had a noodle verse that was just pasta water and noodles, so we didn't have to worry about color for that. But that got put up on the chopping room floor as well.
Oh my god, that's incredible!
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was too much.
Yeah.
Was there one universe that took like the most preparation compared to the other ones?
Sadly, the Noodleverse took the most preparations. We had to build puppets and giant pasta bowls and animate pasta puppets. That was a hot dog universe. For that, Jason, our production designer, and Kelsey, his set decorator, just took the entire apartment that was there before and swapped everything out to hot dog colors.
Huh.
So it's brown bun, ketchup red, yellow, mustard, and then fleshy pink.
Oh
like
my
their
God.
whole.
Oh, that's great.
And they did the same thing in the laundromat. So if you watch it, you're like, why is it weirdly monochromatic with like splashes of red and yellow? And you're like, oh, it's all just hot dog colors. And the wardrobe is still in that kind of beigey, softer vein. And that one, in terms of aesthetic, we initially wanted to create something like Carol, like a character falling out of love and discovering who they are, basically. And we kept referencing it, and every time we tried to make it look like that, we felt stupid, because it just wasn't remotely close to that type of imagery. And so we shifted away and made it more of a romantic comedy feeling. We went brighter, and it was more also we embraced the set more. Like the set was so absurd. And the gag itself is so absurd. And then my favorite part is the piano scene from that, actually, talking about practical gags. Jason Hamer built feet gloves. So there's someone's hands inside of feet that are playing on the piano. So we had hands, and then above that was someone holding the legs, and this was all shot top down from like the one angle it could work on. And that was all in pickups too. We hadn't figured it out. So that was like, 6 months after we shot, and we had just finished shooting Jobu on green screen, and then we just brought a piano and a piece of carpet onto the stage and then shot the piano scene, because all we had was just Jamie's feet playing on from the previous shoot, and this was a pickup. I believe she's playing Claire de Lune, but it was very impressive for special effects.
Wow.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, that's incredible. And just capping off this discussion, looking back on the memories of shooting the film, was there a sequence that you were particularly proud of or enjoyed working on?
It was such a fun movie to make, because any film you make, you generally start out as strangers to all that, the artists and to the different cast and crew. And so watching them transform throughout the film is really rewarding. The alleyway sequence to me was very special. It was the very last thing we shot in the whole movie. We were getting that morning, Jonathan, our producer, was like, "Well, we're not coming back Monday. COVID's shutting us down." And we had 2 days left to go, so it was this very bitter. Like we're so close to being finished, and we're getting shut down for God knows how long. So we shot the alleyway that night, and it was just seeing Michelle and Key in like their best, playing the best versions of themselves, was just really touching. And just to see Key playing a suave, debonair version of himself was just pretty cool. And seeing him pull it off really well too. You just kind of have this, I don't know, again, pride for your friends that are, doing it. They're actually pulling it off. And then it was also, I'm just as proud because we've been, Key used to work for Wong Kar-wai, and I grew up watching like all of his films, which is probably why that sequence doesn't actually look like In the Mood for Love, which the costumes and wardrobe do, and the makeup and hair, but the lighting is stolen from Fallen Angels, some of his earlier work. That's where you get all these colors and the streets of kind of dirty fluorescence and gross greens and these just larger than life colors. Yeah, and we just had a great time doing that. It was the most of the movie is fast and furious and a little slapdash, and it was nice to really end on something elegant, and do something a little more tender, if that makes sense. So yeah, I guess I'm the most proud of that. I'm also happy that some of the best dialogue is in that scene, and that when people reference the movie or pull stills, it's from that scene. I'm like, oh, good. It's this, and not like the butt plug fight where we were just trying to make the day because we had no time, and it was such an elaborate fight sequence. And we're like, how do we do this?
Amazing. Yeah. Well, the alleyway scene is absolutely beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Thank you again, Larkin, for joining us here to talk about this incredible movie. And we wish you and your co-creators the best of luck on March 12th at the Oscars. We will definitely be rooting for you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Once again, a huge thank you to Larkin Seiple for joining us today. And thank you to our listeners and fellow movie enthusiasts for reliving this scene with us. Do you have a favorite scene from Everything Everywhere All at Once? You can email us at scenecraftpodcast@gmail.com with any of your thoughts or comments. Or follow us on Instagram at scenecraftpodcast for the latest updates on the show. You can also support the podcast by leaving us a review on your platform of choice. A very special thanks to Jordan Summerlad for our theme music. This has been Scenecraft, where we break down the craft behind our favorite scenes. See you all next time.